Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jazz Up Your Life with Judy. This is your host, Judy Anderson. Thank you so very much for joining us today. We welcome all new people that may be joining us for the first time, and also welcome back and give much love and appreciation to those who have been with us for 9-10 years. It's been wonderful. So glad to have you here. Our intention is to raise your frequency to improve your life. And that is what our speaker is also about today, too. Our speaker, our guest today is Kelly Hampton. She's an international and inspiring spiritual healer, teacher, really here to support all of us during the transition into the grand age of Aquarius. She's a second-wave Palladian and a universal channel of elementals, angels, ascended masters, and Christed intergalactics. As a young child, she saw the face of Christ appear in a glass of water and was visited by her Palladian family often. She's a gifted medium, hearing guidance from loved ones and pets after first connecting with her mother on the other side at the age of 21. She's the founder of fifth-dimensional, 12th-dimensional, groundbreaking healing systems, including Star Healing Intergalactic Energy, Star Healing Equine, and Star Healing for Small Animals. And she's worked with tens of thousands of clients over 20 countries during the last 25 years. So she's authored, channeled 3 books with Archangel Michael, Into the White Light, The Revelations of Archangel Michael, and Beyond the Truth from Archangel Michael, and the Book of Animals, Healing Wisdom for the Animal Kingdom. So today her topic is talking about the advanced teachings of Archangel Michael. So she has a real connection with Archangel Michael, and we welcome Kelly, and we welcome also Archangel Michael and any other beings of love and light that may be with us today. So welcome, Kelly. Welcome to Jazz Up Your Life.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. So happy to be here. You know, for the new folks that are listening today, you and I go back a few years, don't we, to early summit days, and I'm happy to be back on again.
Yes, it's been a couple of years now, but I know that we started a lot earlier than that. It's so fun to watch my speakers, and we started in 2012, and to watch speakers that I've interviewed along the way and how they've grown and advanced. It's really been a delight to watch people, you know, not only my listeners, but also the speakers who grow and evolve too and are supporting even more and more people in their evolution. So Kelly, is there anything you would like to share about your background? In addition
oh my goodness. I was just going to say, you know, today we will be talking about new things from Michael. You know, we were mentioning how many of the speakers grow, and certainly my experience is, you know, particularly Michael, but he keeps downloading new things to me, so we'll be talking about that in just a minute. I never know really till he tells me, you know, or starts the process. But I guess what I'll, you know, share with the listeners that maybe you didn't mention in the bio was that, you know, this work I do now was certainly not I was not consciously aware of it. I didn't have any training. I didn't desire to be on this path of helping others. You know, I was in a different field altogether until about my mid-30s, and then in about that time, many different experiences started to come to me, again, unasked. And those would include Michael, Raphael, Jesus. Those were the first guides that started appearing in various ways in my life, and they just never would stop appearing with guidance of, what I was to do. And so being in a little bit of disbelief, of course, initially, I brushed them all off. Oh dear. But anyway, I guess, step into your shoes. And so, again, Christ, and Raphael, and then Raphael said, I'm, bowing out. It's time for Michael. So, he has been the significator, I guess, of the information, although much of it, we might say, is Palladian-based or Christ consciousness-based. And so that's, for about the last 20, 25 years, that's, became apparent that that's indeed what I'm supposed to do. And, the idea about a second wave Palladian, my mother miscarried 3 times between the birth of my brother and myself, so I assuming I had to slow down enough on multiple attempts before she could carry me, and even at that point I was born early, so I spent my first days in an incubator. And as you mentioned, as a child, I was visited by my Palladian family, and they were quite frightful. And my mother comforted me, and at the time I didn't exactly know what that was all about, nor did she. But, of course, over the years, that awareness has grown, and I'm quite, what would be the word, over the moon, maybe, about the way that the world is awakening to so many untruths that many of the light guides have been asking me and many other light workers to share. So, it is an exciting time to be alive, even though there are difficulties in many sectors of our world. But I'm, pleased and excited to be here today to try to introduce some new methods that are current, really, I would say, very current for Michael, to help people personally and also help them get involved globally if that's their desire.
Now, you mentioned Archangel Michael and the world situation. Has he mentioned anything about the situation, just the world situation right now to you?
Well, without going into a live channeling on it, very recently, he and also Ashtar from the Galactic Commander, they're very encouraging. They talk about successful, particularly Ashtar talks about successful missions on Earth, about certain tunnels, underground tunnels that are harboring some, darkness, that they have successes in their missions. That came through just the other day. Michael has always been encouraging, when I do channel the prophecies of each year, and I've done that for the last, half a dozen years or so. He might indicate that there's a, change in the financial structure, for example, but he doesn't mention anything like collapse. He goes into avoiding words directly by, saying, intentionally, I want you all to avoid words like collapse. There'll be shifts, in not only the financial sector, but, there will be a day in the not too distant future where there is equality, and that message does come through from all the light beings from time to time.
Good, yeah. I've always said to my audience during these times that I really feel in my heart that things are going to be so much better. Now we're just kind of going, when you do a detox, your body can sometimes get a little yucky. I don't have that issue, but I know a lot of people do have, when they're detoxing, get real feelings of yuckiness and everything, but then afterward they feel so really wonderful. So I think
that's a wonderful way to look at it, I think, and it sparks a comment about that I have from Mother Earth and the way that she says she detoxes. And just the other day I brought forth a brief channeling from her, and she, mentions that I likely that will be belching a few toxins. Of course, in our real world, that could be a shift in the land or a shift in the water or something. But in that way of detoxing, Mother Earth, of course, does the same thing. And most of the, as she said in the Book of Animals, most of her splinters of mankind's wounding were belched out in 2012, but she does acknowledge that, there's going to be some smaller kinds of, like you say, detoxification. So it affects Mother Earth as well. And, I think many times the messages come forth about where our attentions go, where we spend our time, and particularly, of course, with so much internet activity, where are we spending our time? What are we looking at? Are we looking at the worst that's being forecast or manipulated or untruths or whatever, or maybe not, or are we instead, tuning into solutions or joy or, what we can do to help ourselves and others. Mm-hmm. So it's to be mindful of those things. Particularly, I find that when I'm, doing my social media part, you almost have to avoid. It's harder now to avoid undesirable messages that sort of just kind of pop up,
Yeah,
maybe I don't have the filter set right or something, but there's a vigilance there. And also, I'm sure your audience knows about, the age of Aquarius that we're entering. It's not a year or a day, a week. It's a 1,000-year, 2,000-year, I think, process. And anytime you're birthing something, which is exactly what's going on, just like a garden, you plant the seeds. There's a whole lot of energy, of course, involved in raising those seeds up from the garden. So we are in this transitional period, and when I speak to my own colleagues or friends, that quite often it comes up to the point of asking, when is it going to be over? When are we going to be in nirvana? Why isn't it happening? And there's a sense of urgency, I think, amongst all of us that are heart-centered and wondering about our world. There is this, again, might be frustration of this, what's taking so long kind of thing,
Right, exactly. So, well, thank you for that. So, Kelly, one of the newest processes from Archangel Michael is the Solar-Ray Aquarian Tonal Activations. Could you explain what that is and what its benefits are?
Well, yes, I'd love to do that. And many times, I do like to refer to Michael's direct counsel because it sounds more beautiful than when I try to translate it a lot of the time. So, I'm excited about these activations. They're all tonal. Of course, I did the toning as the source flowed through me. And as Michael said, as human beings step into the 50 and transition into the age of Aquarius, many things will be revealed and changing. It's kind of what we just touched on. To help you understand the importance of experiencing solar tonal ray activations, first allow me to educate you on what they are. There are solar ray discs, sometimes referred to as golden discs, in various places on your Earth. These solar ray golden energetic discs were placed there by various light races who knew that there would be a time when your Earth would enter a new age. How cool is that?
Right.
These golden energetic discs were placed about 15,000 years ago. The purpose of each disc varies slightly, but overall they serve the purpose of anchoring the great central sun, the cosmic sun, and the second sun's energies onto the earth for the enlightenment of every man, woman, and child. It is the solar or sun's rays from these main sources which are igniting the flame of remembrance. There are lesser golden discs timed to go off at various other Earth times to help humanity make this transition into the age of Aquarius. Each of these 5 tonal activations, and so when you listen to the MP3, each of them are about 5 minutes in length, and if, the audience is moved to this, you certainly can pause after each one or just listen to all 5 sequentially. There's no particular guidance involved with that. In fact, if you're super sensitive to energies, I might advise that you listen to one and then with intention stop, and then maybe a little later in the day or something go on to the next one. So, as Michael continues, each of these 5 tonal activations will connect with each of these 5 main solar discs. These activations are primal. They will open the throat chakras for many who have been silenced. For others, their root chakras will be reopened and aligned for greater forms of intimacy. For other souls will have their Kundalini experience heightened in ways unimaginable before now. He goes on to say, still others will have their minds expanded in ways not before revealed, allowing for the potential for greater cognitive ability. We view the connection to these golden discs through the solar rays to be of greatest importance for 2021 and beyond. What is the flame of remembrance? Who you are. These tonal activations are one way to speed up the process for an individual to be reunited, Michael says, with truth, freedom, prosperity, and justice. If I can go on to share, each of these 5 tonal transmissions will carry mnemonic codes, which are patterns of letters, numbers, symbols, to connect a soul with the 5 main golden discs in different locations below. And when we get to the actual offer page, you'll see where these discs are located because we have pictures and identifications of where they are. For example, Glastonbury, you'll see the other places. There are lesser discs, as we said, to go off at other times to help humanity make these transitions. So, of course, if you're drawn to what we'll be talking about today, I would not recommend that you listen to this MP3, of course, while you're driving. Just like anything, you just want to be in a place at home where you're relaxed and able to receive. Might want to have some water. Might want to have your feet on the ground. And again, you could listen. Each of them are 5 minutes long. There's kind of a pause before I go on to the next one. So you can either, listen to as many, as you want, or one at a time. Everyone might respond a little differently. In that response, though, I would also like to say, you do not have to feel or see anything. Everyone's a bit different. Michael's already just stated what the benefit is by listening.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So
that's that.
That is that. And then there are also, you work with star codes.
Yes, I guess before we move into that, Judy, let's just tell the audience that if maybe they want to pull up these locations while they're listening, but there's a golden disc in Uluru in Australia. A lot of people know about that as a sacred site, right?
Okay, so let's go to, you can go and see the pictures at jazzupyourlifewithjudy.com/Kelly and the number 21. And there you will see these beautiful sites.
Okay, so and then Lake Titicaca in Peru. I've not ever been there, but channeling.
I have. Oh, it's amazing. It's a huge lake. It really, really is.
How did it feel when you were there? Did it feel different or not?
expansive. People say that right now Lake Titicaca has more energy than the Machu Picchu. And and when I was at Machu Picchu, it seems like there are so many people taking selfies, and and it's just And I
well, there's not a disc there. That could be that could be why.
Yeah. So and I've read that the energies at Machu Picchu may be a little bit distorted and everything, but that Lake Titicaca was really, really something. It's so magnificent, expansive, I would say. Just really a wonderful place. I was just
maybe some of the audience will have been to these places and they can share a little bit with us today. Another one is in the Himalayas in Nepal. Probably nobody's been to the Antarctica and the South Pole.
No, I have no desire to. No. Now, in the Himalayas, is it Kilimanjaro or is it the Himalayas?
Michael says in the Himalayas in Nepal.
Okay, because I thought I heard somewhere someone said Kilimanjaro, and I've been there.
That's a different mountain?
That's a different mountain. That's in Africa. Yeah.
And the fifth main disc, if I may, is in Stonehenge, England, which, by the way, I'll be visiting in July. So that's where the discs are, and that's what you'll be connecting with, the discs there, and you don't have to travel.
All right, really. You can really connect.
But just to go over what was it, 25 minutes, and that number 5, Michael uses the number 5 quite often. Well, the number 3 has significance, and of course the number 8, and there are others. But 5 is a number that I'll say is used or represents significance in many things that's done. And if you listen back to what he just said that can occur, it's quite significant. Well, I think it is. He said some people might have heightened cognitive ability. Some people might find themselves able to express themselves more. Some people will have the highest Kundalini experience they've ever had. And it's kind of incredible, really, I think, for the length of time that the tonal activations are. So, anyway, that's a bit about those.
Yeah, those are wonderful, beautiful areas. All different. Really different.
Yes, yes. And then we're going to move into talking about star codes, right?
Right. The star codes.
And
which I thought MP3s that you listen to, but they're different than that.
Well, the codes themselves are PDFs.
Right.
Right. So they're not tonal. Just to make a distinction between the Solar-Ray Aquarian activations. They're PDFs. Michael started downloading star codes to me. Well, he used them in various means. He used them in ascended spaces for our home. Harmonic star codes can be arrangement of things. So in the home space system, he has certain arrangement of candles that make a harmonic light language vibration. So that's 10 years old. He offers many codes in the Book of Animals, collectively to heal the reefs and so on. And another early download was in Mount Shasta when he had me transcribe codes to connect with the great central sun, Saturn, why that's important, Jupiter, why he wants us to connect with Jupiter, Saturn, God mind, etc. And so if you've not heard of codes yet, because the world is awakening and more people are since then, Michael says, for those of you who are new to harmonic codes, they are a simple yet powerful way for every man, woman, and child to exercise your living, breathing right to heal. In other words, codes are a way to heal. It's that simple. Codes may be numbers. They may be complex sacred geometric forms. They may be color, and they can also be toning or sound codes. Everything is highly charged. They're charged not only from the vessel that is providing the information, it is charged from the numbers themselves, charged by the sources, charged by many different things. And not all star codes, by the way, come from light races. The sun can emit codes, for example. He talks about that in the teachings. So if I can go on just a little bit to describe how people can use them, you know,
yes, we do.
It would be kind of wonderful, really, if there's one way, but there are a couple different ways, and I'll get to that in just a second. For those of you who, he goes on to say, for those of you who have not done any type of energy work, we ourselves feel it would be best to try one number series a day. Be moderate. It may seem simple, or you may even be disbelieving of the information presented here. You may feel as though you can certainly do these codes multiple times. The more is better sort of thinking. But we are asking you not to do this. We are asking you to think about, as we say, one code a day, or one code a week, or one code a month as it moves you. Each of you may not feel them, see them, or even fully understand them, but they are the wave of the future in many ways, providing easy access to dozens and dozens of star races. Light language itself keeps expanding, of course, with more star races pouring more of their languages to Earth. The study of sacred geometry is also expanding as the form themselves are being upgraded. Everything is being upgraded whether you can see this or not. He goes on to say, and this is important to share with everyone, you may state that some individuals will benefit from healing codes alone, and that's my experience, and others will need a direct connection to Source, he says, which you are, and involve them in star healing intergalactic energy. And as you mentioned in the introduction, Michael downloaded that Palladian-based modality in 2010. So, again, almost like anything, you know, with so many, well, even in the offer here, with so many kind of different methods to expand and heal, for some people, one tool is enough. Quite often, right. The visual, image Michael presents is, if you have a leaky faucet, is it dripping? Or is it gushing and flooding your whole house, So that's really, I think, the best way to talk about, the offering of different ways and multiple ways in some cases, depending on the densities involved, whether it's the densities in the light body or the emotional body or the physical home space, etc. Now, a little bit before I continue, sometimes on these star codes, and because I have worked with clients in the past with them, sometimes if a person is used to working with energy, you can use more than one code. Michael, goes on to say it's not that anything can harm you, but they are highly charged, especially if you don't feel or see them, and you would go through 4 or 5 codes or 6 codes. That's a little, in a day. That's a little unreasonable till you know. You may have releases, and the releases might be temperature change in your body, suddenly sleepy, sweating even, toxic releases to what the code is working to expand. So I want to be clear on, that part of the use of them also. It's nothing to fear. It's not of course, that's not the instance. He just, human minds, I think most of us tend to think more is better. So that's why I try to separate the codes also, as people will notice, into different categories, and I tend to not share 500 codes at once. Human nature, people, you don't want to be using a code, by the way, if you're drawn to my offer, that don't apply to you. And we'll talk about that in a little, in just a second here. But
address that right now. If you use a code, because you code here for cancer, and when I looked at that, I thought, I wonder if that would prevent cancer.
Let's talk about that. I'm gonna bring Michael in to answer that directly. But let's just, they are separated into physical issues, emotional issues, codes for viruses. They tend to be stubborn, as maybe many people know, and the Archangel says. Codes for mind, telepathy, and healing. So there are codes, if you're perfectly well, to expand. As I mentioned, there are also codes, as Judy said, codes for cancer, codes to connect with Jupiter, the great central sun, why that's important and why Michael wants us to be doing that, because those systems are quite involved in the Earth's awakening now. Let me ask Michael about the prevention, because as I mentioned a moment ago, if I'm not depressed, why would I use a code for depression? But let's just see what he has to say about this. Michael, what do you say about prevention about this, please? With the example I gave, for example. He said that's sort of like putting the cart in front of the horse, he said. Just there. So what I would say is that there are codes within this offer, like prosperity, joy, happiness. They're not all sort of the reactionary kind of, I need to lose weight, etc. A lot of them are, again, those emotional, expansive codes, and as most of your audience is probably aware, many things in our body are first created in our minds. So, for example, let's say someone is grieving and they've been grieving too long, or it's got to a point where it's not a process that's moving along. Then they would be encouraged to combine it with a code that is uplifting, the code for joy, or code for unity, a code for love, self-love, things of this nature. So quite often that kind of combination is useful for a person. I'm not offering them in this particular package, but there's star codes for our pets and animals too. So back to the use of them, if I can go into that just a bit. Let's just go on. Will a person have toxic releases? Michael says yes, they may. Drinking plenty of water. They are energetically charged, light language segments, and should be treated as such. Not all souls will experience releases that they are aware of. About half will and half will not. Sometimes a release can be as simple as yawning,
Right.
Can be. Additionally, is it important to know what star nations the various galactic star codes originate from? Michael says, from the standpoint of healing, no, though some will find it interesting. Mm-hmm. These codes are infused with light energies from various nations. They have been on your planet for years and years and years, though not always sourced. Go forth with a willingness to embrace the new and extend yourselves to the riches of the multi-universes. I love that, don't you?
Yes, really. Yeah.
So we were going to move into how to use them, I believe. Right?
Right.
So,
I think.
What, honey? What, dear? I missed that.
I said there are lots of ways, aren't there?
Well, yes, there are more than one. It's rather simple. Michael has said that people can write them down, so that's what some people do, write them down. Some people have multiple codes around their house, for example. Some people, as the instruction goes, it makes the intention in their mind and might draw the code in their mind. Sometimes I draw it with my finger in front of me in my field, and I make that intention. Of course, there's codes for pain, and we can go into that portion a little bit later. But those are sometimes a code can be used outside. You don't have to go outside to state every code. If people are interested in helping parts of the world, for example, for pollution, we did some global codes when we were in Mount Shasta. We were outside, and we intentionally stated them, thought them, and sent them. But for personal use, the codes do not need to be on your physical body. For example, if you have a bad back, you don't need to write the code on your physical body. I've heard of people that have done that because they've told me, which is kind of funny in a way. But you do not, Michael has never advised writing a code on a physical body. You can draw the code close with your mind or finger, let's say over an aching back, or have the code near you. You don't have to have the code near you at all times, because that sort of defeats the purpose of, then it becomes more like a limitation or an anchor, So sometimes I advise a soul to have a particular code under their pillow. Not all the codes, not all of everything, sometimes it's nearby. For example, if they're looking to increase financial prosperity, there's lots of different types of prosperity, but so that prosperity code might be placed where they do their bills or work. Doesn't have to be, Michael's not, they whether we feel it or see it or not, the codes are more expansive than having them placed in particular places. But if you're writing them down, quite often people have asked me, well, where should they go? So those are suggestions, really. They're not, a person doesn't need channeled guidance from Michael to know where some codes might be placed. Is that clear?
Okay. Yes. So is there anything else you'd like to share about those, or should we move on to energetic masks? Well, they're quite wonderful. There's many testimonials in our page here. That's only a portion of them. And as I say, as Michael says, they're the wave of the future. They're safe enough for children. So, okay. So yeah, people. Like this person said, amazing. Immediately, I noticed improvements, and when I got a kick out of this one, she said, my husband has already benefited from the star code for pain, and she mentions that he's a hardcore scientist and is still ambivalent, but it's one step at a time. But he did, had less pain from that. So, and he's a scientist. So yeah. And then headaches disappearing. Easier breathing, knee pain, diabetes. Yeah, right. Improved mood, prosperity, asthma, feeling peace after having a life of grief. That would be pretty good. Yeah. So, in toxic mold, someone had Epstein-Barr, and severe and chronic migraines, and the blood test showed the virus had left her body. It was toxic mold, and viruses are difficult to recover from, and this was amazing to this woman or person in Missouri. That is big. Yeah, that is big. That is wonderful that, she had an actual test to show that it's left. That is big. I mean, can you imagine if the Epstein-Barr people could all have that code? Oh. Really. So, all right. Now let's go on to the mask removal. Now,
okay.
Yeah, what are these masks?
Well, as Michael has taught me, a mask is an energetic falsehood that has either been brought in from generations into this lifetime. A person's created them by their own emotions in this lifetime. They've picked them up from other people, which is quite easy to do, you know. In that case, we refer to that as wearing a false mask. And in a rarer cases, thankfully, he said they can be placed by those outside of the light. So those are the ways that an individual can have an energetic mask. And the masks, the Archangel says, keep a person from prospering, whether it's prospering from money, success, health, or all matters combined. Most people that I've worked with don't know they have masks, you know, unless they're very sensitive, and even during the process, most people don't even know when they're removed. You know, it's as I share with everyone, it's a painless process where, you know, if you're moved to work with me, everyone I've ever worked with has masks, and I've worked with hundreds of people now since Michael taught me how to do this. No one's not ever had a mask, and so today, at some point, we thought we might take some questions from people about how many masks they have. That's one area we thought we might explore. But it's a rather simple process for me to identify the masks, what they represent, how many there are. Michael tells us how to remove them. Everyone is involved in their own removal process. If you decide to work with me, it's very simple. You don't have to have your channels open. It's really very, very simple process. Michael goes on to tell us that once those masks are removed, the same masks do not come back, which I think is very reassuring. What would be the point of removing them for a couple of days and then they reappear again? But you know, with that statement, when we're just talking about, you know, being in a vibratory state, or what we might call having your field, fortifying your fields, you know, just as a general comment, you know, the ways to do that are many. Some of what we're talking about here, raise your frequencies also, listening to the tonal, but you know, in your personal life, you know, giving love, being joyful, spreading joy, having a protection ceremony that you do so that you're, you know, the likelihood of being interfered with is lessened. You know, lots of, you know, means of being responsible, you know, human beings, and being the vessels of acceptance and gratitude and kindness and love, and being in those ceremonies, you know, doing your spiritual diligence, like you might brush your teeth or comb your hair every day, you know. So anyway, there can be quite a number of masks, but you know, Michael identifies the number, and then it's really a quite seamless, I think, interesting process to remove them. And that process is usually, although not always, but it's presented here, usually then that's done prior to having your soul chart recalibrated, and that's kind of the way I've offered it here. Then the mask removal process is about 25 to 30 minutes. And then typically we would go directly into, from that process, then we would go into the completely different, wonderful soul chart recalibration process, which is also very new from Michael. And that's about an hour-long process. So in terms of any lifetime with me, if you're moved to that part of the offer, you know, I would plan on, you know, about 90 minutes. If that's a problem, we could split that up, of course. It doesn't have to be constructed that way. But
And
the soul chart...
I'm going to say, yeah, Archangel Michael says this is beyond a trip to the Akashic records, talking about the soul chart revision.
Yes, well, it is. And I think many of your audience know about the Akashic records,
right.
And so it's not, which is significant in its own right in being, but we, with this process, what makes this so powerfully wonderful is that, and remarkable, I think, is that Michael said until very recently he could not go into the halls of knowledge and get anyone's soul chart down. Sometimes we call a soul chart a book. That was Michael first spoke about soul charts in Into the White Light, the Revelations of Archangel Michael, and that book's, I guess, about 15 years old now, or 20 maybe, where he talks a little bit about our charts. And so in the chart itself, many things are pre-planned, and as your audience probably is aware and educated, many things are pre-planned. And so, as he said, it was only like 2 years ago could he even go up there and get the books down. So, of other significance, Michael says, unless you were born after 2012, you will have dense fourth-dimensional karmic lessons written into your chart, limiting your life experiences. And that's indeed true. You might have, if I may say it this way, when I first started doing these processes, I had no idea how much karma affected our earth life. I had no idea. I thought maybe, I don't know about you, Judy, and your audience, I thought maybe they were like a karmic lesson of patience and trust, something like that. And that's about all I thought, but after doing dozens or hundreds of these now in the last year, the process is about a year since he downloaded, maybe a year and a half, there are all kinds of karmic lessons scattered throughout every book we've ever worked on. Again, it's not surprising. That's what Michael tells us. Unless someone was born after 2012 and they don't have to learn the dense lessons that create challenges. So one of the things that we do together is get your beautiful, magnificent book down. All you have to do is follow along and visualize with us. Again, you don't have to have your channels open. Sometimes, of course, people do see their wonderful book and they do feel the frequencies of bliss once the karma's out of there. They may feel the density of the book at the beginning and that kind of thing. It's not required, but you either do or you don't, or it is or isn't. So with Michael's help, he identifies how many karmic lessons are at what age, what they are. We identify them. There's all kinds of karmic lessons, not only the number, but again, this was a complete eye-opening experience for me. I mean, and for everyone's understanding, for example, if Michael says, here on page 8, I see 2 karmic lessons, and they are, let's say, trust and tolerance. Okay, whatever page we refer to, that means that's the age that you wrote them into your book before you came into this incarnation. And again, so how did the karmic cycle keep going on and keep going on and keep going on, right? That's why coming back to learn a lesson, coming back. Well, you would learn the karmic lesson by being challenged. So in my example, for example, a person would be challenged to be tolerant by having intolerance around you. That intolerance might be circumstances. You might have also written to have intolerant people around you. Quite significant, quite dense. And so, of course, Michael said one time, I'm not going to read the entire book about who you and how you wanted to learn this karmic lesson. We'd be here for weeks, you know. So we don't go into to go into that, and it's not even important that a person thinks back on age 10, I learned a lesson of tolerance because my parents were intolerant to me. Sometimes a person might automatically kind of remember, something, but we don't ask anybody to relive anything. We move along pretty quickly to get the density out of there, and we always start early on in life. If a person's 60 years old, we don't start removing karma from 60 to your advancing years. That's not the way it works. We all the karma that every book I've ever had the privilege to work with, even though you may have lived past age 8 or 2 or 5 or 15 or 30 or whatever, Michael said, unresolved karma can present itself as more conflicts in life, depression, lack of interest in life. He said, think of unresolved karma as dust on your carpet. He said it may appear clean, but it's layered with bits of debris. So, gotta love an archangel, right? So, many times. So we always start, wherever those lessons were written by you, right? No one writes your soul chart but yourself. So, of course, as human beings, most of us don't have that conscious remembrance of many things, right? So, once that density is gone through, then we go directly into all the expansive things. At that point, the soul book lifts off, energetically levitates off a person's lap. It starts to glow, very much like this picture that's on the sales page. He tells us, people have told me, it levitates off their lap. It's much lighter. It becomes alive with energy. Then we go directly to what Michael calls sourcing the cover. And when we source the cover, he guides an individual how to do that. And what we're doing is we're pulling the charge of all the person's lifetimes, of all the wonderful, highest frequencies imaginable. And whether they feel it or not, we're pulling it from the cover of the book, by the way Michael has us do the process, into their body. Again, sometimes people feel the charge of these vibrations go through them. Many times they may not, but they're still, receiving them. We work with that for a while. Then with Michael's help, we go back to the book itself where the soul, we all also pre-wrote, I guess we could call it, very wonderful, high vibrational frequencies scattered throughout our book. We might have written, entire love for a decade, excuse me, or, again, Michael helps us identify what the frequency is, but this is how it is. These pages that represent the auspicious frequencies, they're crumbled. They're crumbled because of the karma that was in there. So they're either crumbled, so in other words, the karma diminished their full expression in our lives. They're either crumbled, they're wrinkled, they're torn, they're tattered in some way. And very simply, again with Michael's help, we identify where they are. The person expands them, does the repair work really, while they're pulling in that frequency that Michael helps them identify. Sometimes the client will know themselves, what page to go to. If they have that awareness, we let them, we encourage that participation. They might also share with us what the frequency is they're feeling. So it can be more interactive, if that's present. Doesn't have to, but I've learned a lot by hearing from what clients have said as they move through this process. So again, we begin at the beginning. We go through the entire sacred book to where the last auspicious lesson was written. We repair and expand that. And then finally, Michael shares with everyone how and why they might want to ask for their elevated book without me being present. So I think that's quite wonderful. And then he says their book will go and be shelved in the crystalline wing of the halls of knowledge. The other soul charts can imagine trillion or quadrillion, or I don't even know what goes on after I'm making quadrillion up, but he identifies the soul charts as kept in dusty file cabinets, and indeed sometimes souls that we work with, or Michael will tell us, there's dust on the cover of your book, blow it off first, please, or something. And so it's crystalline in nature. There's a crystalline wing now of the halls of knowledge, which ties in perfectly to 2012, as Michael says, and the influx of what we call crystalline children, which are starting to become adults now. So it's quite a moving and life transformational process.
It's fantastic. That's very interesting. Now, if any of you have any questions, Kelly had 3 suggestions of questions you could ask, like how many masks do you have, and what star code would be beneficial to you, or how many karmic lessons are there in your soul chart. So, and also she's going to be doing a closing prayer for all of us and the earth at the end of the show. So we look forward to that. Now, there are people who have had fantastic experiences with this soul chart, and some of those people have said clearer thinking, less fatigue, and people seem to be able to see me better. That's an interesting observation. Yeah. And
if I may, whatever age we are, think about it. If the just one aspect of this process, if the karma is removed, and let's say you're 55 years old, and we have 5 karmic lessons, and in your advancing ages, and Michael removes those challenges from your life, think of that.
Yeah,
not only that, but think of that. And going backwards, the remnants of karma that's still stored within us, having that removed is quite significant. One other thing I would add, if I can, and that is, if your audience might be wondering, Michael we never go to sharing with anyone when their last day is on Earth. We don't know that. Michael doesn't know that. All Michael does is he'll guide us to where the last either karmic lesson is, or the last auspicious page that you wrote to be wonderful, right? Where you restore it with the karma being out of there. Of course, that's done. Only God mind knows the convening moment,
Right, exactly. And also, one person says, never in my life have I received such life-changing information from such an amazing teacher as Archangel Michael and Kelly. That's, I was suddenly aware that I was free of many of the beliefs, thoughts, and emotions that had haunted me all my life. And I know there's another person who said that, since she was 9, there were different things that had weighed heavily on her life. She's finally been freed from that. So from the age of 9 on. So there probably are things that we are not realizing could be holding us back that we are unconscious of. So very interesting. Very, very interesting. And why don't we go here? I see. Shall we take a caller right now?
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, we're going to go to California. Last 4 digits are 8661. And what is your name, please?
Rosemary.
Hi, Rosemary. And what is your question for California?
Yeah. My question is, how many masks do I have?
Okay. Thanks for listening. Let me just invoke Michael. Michael, how many masks does Rosemary have? 7.
Oh, okay. Not too many. Oh, and I just bought your bead package.
Lovely. I think you'll I think you'll get a whole lot out of it. I appreciate that.
Oh, great.
7. Yeah.
7, so you can get those removed, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
rather easily. Yeah, the wonderful thing about these particular live sessions I love is that Michael has you involved in them too, we're not just simply doing it, he empowers the person, but I would allow about 90 minutes in your schedule for that, So
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
okay,
wonderful.
thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. Then let us go right now to the special offer that Kelly has put together for us. That is at jazzupyourlifewithjudy.com/Kelly and the number 21. So, Kelly, there are different star codes here. Would you like to just share with people what you'd like to about this?
Sure. While it's on my mind, those of you that are drawn to work with me with Package B, Package A is all the star code downloads and the process we talked about at the beginning, the activation. So that might be just what you're called to do. In terms of Package B, which is A and B, we schedule our live time. If you've not worked with me before, I've done this the same way for many years. Once I'm notified of your purchase, then either myself or my assistant will email you back, and I would like you to suggest several days and times, that will work for you. So I'll have notification of where you're from. If you're out of the USA, we work out the time differences, etc. And then, that's how we'll proceed in scheduling. Okay, so that's how that part works. So we've covered pretty much everything except the special bonus to the first 12 purchasers, and it's going into your galactic lineage, becoming a galactic human webinar with Q&A. And we've indicated here it's 60 minutes, but most likely it'll be 90, just FYI. That's how these things go. The date for that is Saturday, July 9th, and if for some reason you're not available, you come to the offer later, there's always a replay, a link that'll be available for you. And during that call, some of the topics we'll get to for everyone. What is my soul purpose? How does a soul purpose differ from a star mission? Where is my star home? Am I a star seed? What are the light language codes to connect with my star family? And I'd also like to go into, if you have any questions about the star codes in the package, that would be the time to present those questions also, or go deeper if we needed into any of that. So that will probably all take 90 minutes. Again, that's Saturday, July 9th. There's different time zones here with a replay link. So I hope you'll be drawn to that. We'll cover quite a bit. So everything's here. Package A is $127. You can also make 2 payments. If you want to work with me live, that would include Package B, which includes A, and we're offering that for $226. Normally over $700, and you can also make a 2 payment. You can also make 2 payments.
Yeah, right. So great. So the star healing codes. Just to go through those, there are physical issues, one for emotional issues, for viruses, interesting one, and for mind healing and telepathy, and for cancer. So those are the different ones that are available.
Right, and each of the codes, by the way, they're listed here. There are plenty, and I would say again that if you get involved in the codes themselves, and let's say there's one or two that you're interested in that's not in there, then you would be encouraged to purchase Package B because we can answer those questions in the webinar.
Okay, right. Well, that would just be more personal work, which would be great to experience. So, yeah. So, check that out at jazzupyourlifewithjudy.com/Kelly, the number 21. And go through this, look over the package, and then read what some people's experiences are. We've got some amazing testimonials here. So, and that special time together with that bonus would be wonderful. One person says, I cannot find the words to describe its magnificence. It was a magical journey. I have been reshaped. That's quite a comment. Yeah. Really. Really. So wonderful. Okay, so, well, we have, let me check one more thing here. All right, so, anything else you would like to share about all of these offerings, or anything about the star codes, or the other part of the package?
Not really. I think unless the audience has some questions, we could move into the closing meditation or prayer. I don't know what it'll be just yet, but we could certainly move into
it will be good, whatever it is. So
okay. Well, let's do that. And let's see. Who should we call on? Should we call on Michael, Judy, or why don't we? What do you think?
If they ever work together, why don't we call Michael and my Jesus, my JC?
Oh, okay. Let's see if they'll work together. Usually Michael's kind of loud and Jesus is very soft. And
okay. Well, we can do Michael since this is his show pretty much.
All righty then. So, Michael, thank you, Michael. Will you come forth with a final message or a blessing for us today, please? We would like to know what that is, please. How would it take its form? Okay, he's saying, I would like to share statements of realization. All right, thank you. And what would they be, please? He's saying, be true to oneself. Honor the life force within you. Reject untruths by touching your heart. Your heart will know. Aim higher. Be love. Accept love. Spread love. Affirm the following. I am a sovereign being of light. I am a light bearer for all to see. I am liberated and I am free. Shalom. Takita. Aho. Amen. That's it.
I like those. Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Very nice. Very good reminders. Really. So wow. Wow. So, all right. Well, Kelly, thank you so very much for coming on Jazz Up and sharing with us the latest that Michael has been sharing with you, and I wish you much love and a great journey from here on out with Michael. So I know he'll keep it interesting for you.
Surely will. Thank you so very much. It was a pleasure.
Okay, Kelly. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for joining us today on Jazz Up Your Life. And remember to share the love. Spread the love that you are. We love you.